Hey, this is Dan Prince, and this is a really short video of how we're using Puppet to generate config files for our Docker containers. So what I'm going to show you is how we use Puppet to execute a partial manifest that allows us to sort of slice out specific resources that we want to include, specifically the config resources, to generate config files for a service using the service's container itself, and copy those into a directory or volume. And the trick here is we're using the same Puppet manifest that we use for bare metal. So there's a lot of resources that we're not executing, but this allows us to generate just clean config files for containers that we then launch. So I'm going to go into my dev environment here, and I'm going to give you an example of Keystone. So this is the config interface we've developed. TripleO Heat Templates actually uses this format. It writes out a JSON file containing multiple services and sort of generates all the configs in a single pass. But this is just Keystone. And so this format here, what we've got is we've got four things. There's at the top, there's the name of the service, or this is we would call this the config directory or the config volume. This is where the config files are going to be copied to. And the second thing here is the Puppet tags. This is the name of the resources we want to execute. So in this case, we're just generating Keystone configs. I would add that as part of our base tooling, we're also including file, concat, and sort of file type resources. So those are included implicitly in our Docker Puppet implementation. And then this is some of the more advanced parts of the interface. There are some Keystone resources that execute or prefetch regardless of the tags option, and so we basically wrote an interface to no op out those interfaces. So you can see there's this section here, this Noop resource. We're basically saying for the Keystone user, the Keystone endpoint, domain, all that stuff, don't execute them, or execute them with a no op provider that's going to do nothing. And then the last part of that line is this is the Puppet manifest that's going to run. It's just including our Keystone base manifest. And then the last line here on the file, this is the container this is gonna run in. So go ahead and show you how this works. And we're just gonna run the script. It's a Python script. So this is actually gonna pull the container. If the container is not already on the machine, it'll pull it from the registry or Docker Hub or wherever, and then it'll run. It'll generate a quick shell script. It'll run that shell script inside of the container, and that's going to drive running Puppet and then copying the config files out to the archive. And so you can see there's the config files it generated at the end, so we can actually just take a look at those. Config data, Keystone, let's see, keystone.conf. So you can see here's some bind ports. There's my admin token. It's been copied in. Keystone's also got some Apache files. So let's take a look at the admin file here, for example. So that's all been configured correctly, and so my container could we could bind mount these into my Keystone container and launch it, and it would actually run the Apache process to start the Keystone API. And that's really it. The files I'll link into the post here. It's Docker Puppet. This Python file, I'll link it in. It's just 150 lines. It's just a sort of a wrapper around running a Docker container with that JSON file format driving the generation of config files. And that's it. Thanks for watching.